there's dozens of human-specific pathogens that we could make extinct the same way we did smallpox. You could ring the bell and say, hey, it has arrived. We finally have pig organs working at humans, right?
We know that gene editing could improve not just how we look, how we age, but also intelligence and other factors. That opens many conundrums, right? Where you have divided society of people that are super intelligent and people that are not. Do you see this split having an effect? On a recent podcast, you were talking about the opportunities with gene editing. Yeah. We know that gene editing could improve not just how we look, how we age, but also intelligence and other factors. Right. And you said that the aim isn't that everyone has Einstein-level intelligence or everyone is really healthy and can live forever, but that there is choice there as well. Right. Again, that opens many conundrums, right? Where you have divided society of people that are super intelligent and people that are not, whether that's through choice or through ability to afford or get their hands on these sorts of gene editing tools. Do you see this split having an effect?
I don't see the split happening. I mean, it's important to consider all the alternatives, but once you consider them all, I think, choice is important. I mean, having a split due to choice is far better than having a split that's involuntary or enforced by the government or enforced by economic divides. I think that when I look at least the scientific and medical revolutions that I've been embedded in, they tend to go pretty quickly to an affordable point. So, for example, smallpox is literally $0 to anybody on the planet. Even the poorest person on the planet does not have to pay any pennies for the latest therapeutic that prevents or cures smallpox, doesn't have to pay for vaccines. His or her government doesn't have to pay for those things because it's extinct. And that extinction is something that is incredibly cost effective. And we're on the verge of, there's dozens of human-specific pathogens that we could make extinct the same way we did smallpox. It's just a few vaccines away. And then you can get rid of vaccines, but don't get rid of them now until you've gotten rid of the disease causer. Then there are other things where there's big animal reservoirs, and so then you really have to keep bringing out annual updates and things, or come up with vaccines that are general, that work on many different viruses. In fact, we came up with a way that works on just bacteria so far, but in theory could work on any organism to make them resistant to all viruses, and even viruses we've never studied before. This is by changing the genetic code so that the virus is confused. So there's hope for having very broad spectrum antivirals, antipathogens in general.
I think a lot of my listeners around the longevity space do sometimes get tired with the lack of progress or the lack of new solutions or ideas being put out there.
Yeah.
Could you gift them an idea, a concept, some progress in the space that you're already excited about, that you're seeing come to market or go through preclinical trials that you haven't mentioned already?
I think this is the classical interaction with exponentials. Is that even though the exponential is kind of the same curvature all the way up, they'll talk about like there's the phase where it's flat and the phase where it's hockey stick, almost vertical. But anyways, I think they want something that they can go out and buy today. They want to walk down the street and get it, but the revolution is all around them. They're just not accepting it. So, for example, I think next-gen sequencing hit us, very quickly, and people who are in the know see how big an impact that is. That could eliminate a huge number of serious diseases, including diseases that affect aging, if we would just implement genetic counseling properly, and we're starting to. So, for example, I'm in the UAE Advisory Council, and the UAE now has 80% of it, at least, of its citizens sequenced. They're the only country that's even close. Most of the other countries are dawdling in sub-percent levels, but they will be the the guiding light for everybody else. Everybody will watch them and see, well, what did they really get 100-fold return on investment? And my guess is that will be demonstrated in the next year or two, or evaluated. So you're asking for revolutions that people that are impatient about aging reversal arriving. That's one. That could easily extend our population average. It may only affect the most troubled 3% of the population, but that will average out. The other thing is gene therapies. I mean, these are really taking off. The COVID-19 probably increased our average longevity. COVID vaccines, and those were formulated as gene therapies, single genes in a capsid or like thing. Now, of course, COVID itself brought our life expectancy down, but this compensated for it. So you have to count that somehow. Again, people have a tendency to discount things once they're they're proven, especially in the longevity field. You make a major advance and they say, well, that doesn't count. It's kind of like in AI. So, some of my friends were sitting next to me programming checkers, and they got checkers so it could beat the best checkers player in the world. And they said, well, that's not really AI. And then they did chess, and that's not really AI. And then Go, and then Jeopardy. And it's just one by one, you say, well, that's not, Turing test, where it imitates a human speech. No, it's we have to revise that. It's something more. So, I'm guilty of some of that myself, but I think we need to celebrate some of these things too, because they're pretty remarkable. I mean, this is not a very positive example, but it's kind of like atom bombs. I mean, there was a bunch of physicists, a bunch of eggheads doing theory, and they were really convinced, but nobody else in the world knew about it. And even if they knew about it, they wouldn't have been convinced by it. And then on one day, one bomb goes off and suddenly everybody's convinced, right? And so you have to consider all those days that led up to it. You can't just say, because you smooth out these revolutions. They tend to go kind of like very steep S-curves. And I think that's what we're in the middle of right now. It's a bunch of revolutions that people just aren't recognizing because it's not at the nearby drugstore, but it is still happening. The fact that we are now delivering kidneys that are getting people off of dialysis for hundreds of days is a real gift to those. Anybody who's been on kidney dialysis knows that it's not pleasant. You have brain fog, you have, extremely limited mobility geographically. So that's another something where we can deny its arrival. We can say, oh, it hasn't arrived yet because there's only been 3 patients treated, and only one of them has been off dialysis for 271 days. Or you could ring the bell and say, hey, it has arrived. We finally have pig organs working at humans, right?
Thanks for watching this Beyond Tomorrow clip. If you haven't subscribed yet to our main channel, join us there for conversations that can help you thrive today and flourish tomorrow. We'll see you next time.